Hello, my name is Kray Chen. I'm an artist from Singapore. My works are largely conceptual and I operate mostly in the video medium. I perform a lot in my own videos because I feel that for me to use my own body in the performance, it was really the best way for me to examine my own past and my own identity. So the body to me is like a vessel that records experience and things that have happened. So by looking at the body and attempting to unpack these actions, I feel that we can then look at what has happened and examine the bigger social context that caused the action in the first place. A very good example will be the sizing of the body. So I think a very clear everyday example will be, let's say, the size of the seat on an MRT train, for example, and who determines this median size, right? And how does it also convert to more sort of mathematical or economical sort of models of how many people can be on the train, for example. So I think just by looking at size, we can tell a lot about how the country thinks of the bodies that creates the country and creates the economics of the country. In Singapore, every male has to be conscripted. Roughly at the age of 18, we will all join the military. Regardless of your body size, you have to become a soldier. So of course, naturally, all the bigger size guys like myself have a special treatment from the military to spend an extra 6 months on an island just to get into shape. So my experience in the military is pretty much about comparing myself or trying to become normal. So that pretty much influenced my piece, I'm a Steamroller Baby. I'm a Steamroller Baby is a song that we were made to sing by the sergeant. I think he really started it as a kind of a joke just for everybody that, you know, we are a group of 200 strong obese soldiers steamrolling down the line. In this work, I was running in a service basement, and accompanying my running are a few videos of a band, a brass band, playing the tune of I'm a Steamroller Baby. I also have a TV screen that is counting down to 9 minutes and 20 seconds, which is the time that we all needed to meet if we want to pass the running test. So at the special moments when the bands were playing, I actually artificially edited my running steps to match the tempo of the music. So in those musical moments, my running becomes emancipated from my real running and goes into a kind of fictional state whereby it can meet with the standards of what was required of us. And extending from I'm a Steamroller Baby, I created a second piece of work called A Parade for the Paraders. So in A Parade of the Paraders, it also uses this tune, I'm a Steamroller Baby. And I also invited a few full-time military musicians to take part in the video. In the piece, I worked with the musicians individually as well to examine very specific memories that they had while they were in a full-time musician there. And I loosely sort of follow after the format of the National Day Parade and put together this piece. I hope to use music to sort of trigger some of these musical memories that are embedded in their muscles, how they move in parade, how they sort of return to a very disciplined state of mind and of the body, even though they are already, you know, retired from those activities. I think from a very young age, the National Day Parade has always been this big thing, big spectacle that a lot of us look forward to. And the kind of sort of emotional reservoir that's sort of latent within the body every time the National Day is near and some things is being drawn out of this reservoir. So I think I was very interested in how I could sort of address the way we will respond to this period of the year, and hopefully I can use that to also relate to other people as well. In 5 rehearsals of a wedding, I perform as the groom together with 4 other groomsmen. And the biggest catch in this performance in this film is that there is no bride and there is also no audience in this piece. So it is really the 5 of us going through 5 categories of the wedding day, the typical Chinese wedding day, and us miming through all the various rituals and celebrations without a proper audience for it and without a proper purpose for it as well. And the typical Chinese wedding has many different sort of ceremonies, such as the tea ceremony, where the bride and groom has to offer a tea to the elders, anyone that is older than them, and in return they will get like a red packet as a blessing. There is also the banquet, which is like the biggest event of the day. So I think at that point in time, of course, I was perhaps 29 years old. I was at the ripe age of thinking about wedding myself. And I attended a few of my friends' weddings, but I've always felt uncomfortable with how my friends are made to go through all of this ritual. So it was very natural for me to examine it on almost from a very satirical sort of point of view, and to also examine why we put ourselves through all of these rituals. Weddings are almost our performances, right? But I think it's also important for me to examine this performance at various levels. Firstly, who they are performing for, and also then who is performing. So I think the piece was really a way for me to sort of get past my own insecurities about going through a wedding. But at the same time, I also wanted to touch on a topic that I feel many of the younger people like myself face in Singapore. In my recent work, Opera Green, I collaborated with local celebrity and opera performer Kray Chen to produce a 2-channel portraiture. In this portraiture, we wanted to portray the scholar and the warrior character archetypes that is the 2 basic sort of models in Chinese opera. So sometime in 2019, I came across a street opera performance in Singapore, and I was quite surprised by the small crowd there. So it was really pretty much an empty tent with a handful of audience. But the opera performance in my mind, the one that I remember from childhood, was one that is full pack of audience. So I was sitting there and asking myself what has happened to this culture and to this tradition, and what changes created this scenario, or was it just a one-time thing? So I dug deeper and I did more research, and I found out that this is actually quite the norm these days, that there is no such audience anymore. And the most immediate thing that I thought about as a video artist was that whenever I show videos in art exhibitions, it's the same situation. The video will just be playing on loop to an empty space, and there won't be much audience. And I think most of the time people just come in, watch for 30 seconds, and they walk out anyway. So I thought that parallel was, again, quite interesting for me to examine. So that was the reason why I decided to think about using the Chinese opera as a kind of metaphor or a place where I can address this sense of emptiness or of lack of audienceship. I think art for me sometimes, and especially in today's context, can become too serious. My approach to thinking about art is that I would want to reach out to more people. I think I was very privileged to be able to do something like art, and this privilege does not extend to many people in Singapore. I think most of the time people find art to be so sophisticated that they can't understand what is happening, and I hope to use humor to overcome that.